Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. We are here for a United preview with Beth from the United Stand. How are you, Beth?
I am as good as can be, considering the situation that Manchester United are in right now. I'm trying to smile through the pain.
I know. Well, I mean, I would say that I've been through it, but the more I look into it, I think you guys, I
We're
mean,
worse than Chelsea were.
it
Can you
is
believe it?
bad. Because I tried to empathise last season when you were struggling, but then I was like, you guys were worse than we were because we finished 12th. Where were
Yeah.
you? 15th, 16th?
15th, yep.
God. And the thing is, at least we had like a progress. We went from 12th to 6th. So if I was a United fan, that's kind of where I'd want you to be. I'd just say get Europa Conference League. People would say that's embarrassing. It is a huge step up from where you were. And even with the signings, like I feel like you made some really good signings. I like Mbeumo, I like Cunha. I think they're great players. And you're just struggling to get the results.
Yep, I said this before the season even kicked off. I was hopeful of competing for that 5th place and potentially maybe getting Champions League football because I think Cunha and Mbeumo are brilliant signings. Sesko's an uncertainty. I want him to be good, but I think United maybe went down the wrong path in picking their striker in terms of going for another potential player rather than someone who was just going to come in and do the business. And I think whoever didn't sign off on that Emi Martinez deal is, I mean, it's mind-blowing to me. It was so obvious we needed someone like that. Okay, yeah, is he going to be the keeper for the next decade? Potentially not, but definitely for the next few years. To have someone in goal who's Premier League experienced, who is won a World Cup, is a leader, has got personality, could take the pressure of being a Man United player and goalkeeper, which is one of the hardest positions. And I think we've just made a few mistakes along the way. Obviously, Amorim has got to come under question. His record is terrible. I mean, I'm all about giving a manager time and building it and having a process, and it gets worse before it gets better. But it feels like it's just got worse and worse and worse, and we've plateaued at this point where we just can't pick up results. I mean, still not having 2 wins in a row at this point, 10 months in, that is something to be looked at. But I think one of the main things that I can take away from your point you've just said there is you have got to walk before you can run. I think United are like, let's get back to the top. Let's get back to the top. Make some smart signings to get you back to that 5th or 6th place, 6th or 7th even, and then kind of look above that. Like an Ollie Watkins would have been a smart signing to do that. Okay, it's probably going to cost you 50 million. And he's not going to last forever, but he's going to have a good season. He's going to be able to score goals in the Premier League. He knows what it's about. I think a few safer signings from United would have got him on the right path. And then you go and make them Sesko signings like that and the signings for the future. So, yeah, I think there's been a few poor decisions along the way. Not getting a midfielder is just a massive blow as well. But you can't do it all in one summer, can you? It's one of them.
No, that's the thing. I think that we're an example of trying to do something in one window, even if a lot of those signings are good.
Yeah,
it just doesn't really work.
I'm speaking to the wrong channel when I say you can't do it all in one window. Because do you know what? It's funny actually, and I'm on Chelsea Fan TV, so I will give you guys a compliment. Before, like past teams have bantered Chelsea for Todd Bowley and the way he's gone about things. Like, maybe he doesn't know too much about football. He's just going out there and trying to buy everything, and is that going to really pay off? But okay, in some ways you can look at it and say, the players are going to be unhappy about game time, and people can make memes about not everyone fitting in the dressing room. But if you go out there and buy the best talent, you will eventually find the right players, and you have improved. Like, you are a competitive Champions League team now, so from where you were at, that is improvements, and it's something United would like to see, because it feels like we've been on a downwards plateau. 6th used to be unthinkable, and now we'd love to get to 6th.
Well, I said this to Saeed last year, and I remember I messaged you about Ten Hag as well. Like, I always liked Ten Hag. I always felt like he was a good manager, and a lot of people don't like to say it, but he did a lot of good things with that team, and. He always defended the players. Like, he was very, very good in the press, in my opinion. I know that there was times where what he was saying did seem a bit muffled, but
didn't make sense.
You have such bad runs. Like, sometimes there isn't anything to say, and you've still got someone who's trying to defend the team, and tactically as well. Like, I mean, let's just look at Kobe Mainu, even Garnacho. Like, those are players that had a future under Ten Hag, and now under Amorim. obviously we've got Garnacho now. We'll speak about him in a second.
Oh yeah.
And I've barely seen any minutes for Kobbie Mainoo. So, like, in terms of just flexibility, like, Amorim doesn't change anything. I'll be honest with you. There's a part of me, we were like, guarantee he's going to get sacked before you guys play us, because it always happens. Someone gets sacked, you play us, and then they have a bounce back. And if that was the case, I'd probably predict a loss or something like that. But you know what? This is probably the most confident I've felt going to Old Trafford in years. And even last year under Van Nistelrooy, you guys didn't really play to win that game. You played for a draw. But I think that Amorim, for whatever reason, will probably try and play more open football, but it's just not working. And I'm going to predict a Garnacho goal as well, Beth. I'm predicting
Don't do that
a
to me.
Garnacho goal at the Stretford end with a full celebration. I would love nothing more.
He won't celebrate though. With Garnacho, it could go one or two ways. Either he'll completely over celebrate because the fans have been giving him stick all game, or he'll do one of them really like, no, I'm not celebrating. One of them ones. So it'll be two extremes with him. But when you touch on Ten Hag there, the thing is with Ten Hag, which is why I think people do sometimes think back to him, is there were some positives you could take away. I actually don't know if it would have been able to be successful just because his recruitment was so bad. Like he had a transfer veto, and it genuinely felt like near enough every player he brought in has not been a success, or he's got rid of players who did have quality. Like, I don't know if Scott McTominay was actually him, but he is one that you look back on, you're like, oh, like the fact he was allowed to go.
McTominay was
he wasn't for us, but look at what he's ended up, going and doing. And do you know what? To be fair, I think Ten Hag wanted him to stay, so I'm not going to put that completely on him. But like the Anthony signing, like signings like the Malacia signings like that are going to haunt you. And it's like the fact he was playing Amari Forson, who I can't even remember who he plays for now, over the likes of Ahmad, who hasn't had the best start to the season, but is a much more talented player. And his favouritism at times did get people. But what I will say, which I do agree with you, he actually had a leg to stand on because he'd had a successful season where he got third and we played some decent football. He understood the United DNA in the fact that, we play with wingers, it's built on youth. He brought through some younger players and promoted them, and they were our better players, the Kobbie Mainoo, the Garnacho. And he won 2 trophies. He won 2 trophies in 2 years. More trips to Wembley than I can remember for a long time. So to me, I'm like, yeah, okay, we weren't competing at the top, but there was still some really positive things you could hold on to. The Andre Onana signing as well, I think, is the final nail in the coffin for Ten Hag, because that is one that has just completely haunted us.
Yeah.
But with Amorim, you look at him and you think, what can I actually hold on to that's positive? What he's done off the pitch in terms of weeding out, personalities that maybe weren't, befitting of a culture he wants to build. But even that, now people look and say, what if Garnacho goes on to do really well? Look at what Rashford's doing at Barcelona literally last night. So people will look at that. But I do stand by him on the decisions he made off the pitch. If players haven't got the right attitude to fit into the culture, I'm with that. We want a team that are all, fighting for each other and nobody's bigger than each other. I want that. But on the pitch, like the Europa League final, from minute 1, it was poor and he did nothing to change that game. And Tottenham were not a good side. That is, like, I've never seen United roll over like that in a final. And I know if Ten Hag was in charge of that game, it would have been I think it would have been a different outcome. Like the FA Cup final against Man City. But it's weird with Amorim. He's got such a distinct style, and that's one of the big complaints with Ten Hag is he doesn't have a style of play. He wants to play this way, but then he'll go 10 games just shutting up shop to get points on the board, and he was always in that in and out cycle because there was so much pressure on him. But with Amorim, he's so stubborn to stick by this style, but we're just not seeing anything that's giving us any hope that, this is actually going to be a success. Because like you say, going into the Chelsea game, sometimes I think, United might pull out the bag. We might have one of them performances, what we've done in the past. But under Amorim, they're really few and far between.
I think the midfield battle is going to be very interesting, so especially because I've seen Fernandes playing a lot deeper in a number of games.
Another decision that's wrong.
I don't get that. I don't get it. From what I'm hearing from like the United fan channels that I'm watching, It just seems to be that it's like almost like a statement to the ownership, and he's playing him there because there's nobody else that's good enough to play in that position. I suppose Casemiro's past it. You know, he's not a fan of Kobe Mainu. I think Mainu would probably be better in that position than
massively
than Bruno Fernandes. And yeah, I mean, I've watched pretty much every game actually that United have played, bar the Arsenal one. And every game, it just seems unconvincing, even when they are able to get points on the board. Burnley was like, I don't even know how you guys won that game. Fulham, I wouldn't have been surprised if you would have lost. Grimsby, like, let's leave that one there. And yeah, like when I look at Chelsea at the moment, last season, I was not a fan of Maresca. I don't know if you know that or not, Beth. I really didn't like what we saw from Maresca over the course of, especially that second half of the season. But he has proven to me, as a lot of fans who were like me, that on the big stage, when it comes down to it's crunch time, he can get results and he can do what needs to be done. And there's certain clubs where you have to play a certain style of football and win in terms of trophy success, etc. I feel like Chelsea are one of those clubs. We don't really have to play great football as long as we're winning trophies. That's pretty much where we are as a fan base. And, you know, I don't think anyone's going to complain regardless. But it seems like with Man United, not only do you need to play a certain brand of football, but, you know, you have to get success as well. So I just think in the modern era, especially with the amount of competitions you've got from other teams and where you are now with your ownership, I think it's an impossible job. And that's why, in a weird way, I empathize with Amorim sticking with his style. But you've got to get results. But then who are you going to bring in?
No.
That's you've got to pay this guy out. I mean, even speaking about money, you guys, I think you reported record profits, wasn't it? So
yeah, I mean, do you know what he was interested in? I think it was like record match day revenues, and it's like record match day revenues when we are 15th. And honestly, I have a season ticket, but every single time turning up last year felt like a chore. Like, it really felt like a chore because there was nothing to get you excited whatsoever in the Premier League, because the Premier League was gone so early. I think the only thing that was keeping fans holding on was that Europa League final and the possibility of winning Europa League and getting back in the Champions League. But this season, he's not even going to have that. It's just the Premier League. So if even competing for European football is out of reach within a quick amount of time, like, fans are seriously going to be frustrated, because how we can produce record match day revenue on a season like that, like, it just shows the strength of this fan base. Like, and it is one of them where it's a poison chalice in a way, Manchester United, because it feels like no one can come in after Sir Alex and get us to where we need to be, and it does keep going down. But at the same time, imagine if you can unlock that beast, if you can unlock that fan base that can still produce these numbers, that still can, put out there the reach that we do. Like, the global fan base is absolutely off the scale. And if you had a Manchester United side that was actually winning, competing in the Premier League, competing in the Champions League, it would be absolutely huge. And I think that's what still entices players in and still entices managers in to come in and have a crack at it. So it's one of them things, whereas if you look at the past, no one's been able to crack it, but everyone thinks, can I be the guy? Can I be the one? And hopefully there is a one out there. But like you said, Amorim's not making it easy for himself. And just how you just spoke about Kobe Mainu there, that's another element where the fans are going to turn a little bit, because he's our academy graduate. I think personally, fantastic player. I mean, the way he came onto the scene at 18 years old, the way he played in a Euros final and was one of the better players, in my opinion. And yet you're not playing him in your team. And the excuses he makes for that is the lack of pace, being able to cover massive amounts of the pitch. I mean, obviously I'm not a football manager, but I'd rather have a player that can actually pass a ball than a player that can, maybe is like an extreme athlete. Kobe Mainu, he can still get around the pitch fine. It's not as if you're picking from, world-class midfielders here. It's not as if you've got Rodri, Reinders, Caicedo to pick from. We've got players that are not doing the job at a high enough level on a weekly basis, and he can't even get a kick. And what you said on Bruno Fernandes is, for me, one of the best attacking midfielders in the league, and has been for the last however long he's been in the Premier League. Yet you're playing a system where he doesn't suit the role. He tries to do his defensive work, but it's not first nature to him. And he's deeper than the likes of a Dorgu and a Mazraoui, who you're asking to create chances when you've literally got one of the best chance creators in the Premier League, but you're playing him deeper. Them are things that aren't adding up to the fans. And the system, I understand him sticking with it. He's got principles, but you've got to tweak it to get the best out of your players. Every top manager does that.
I don't know, Beth.
Tough, innit?
United's just a weird club. It's just a weird club. I mean, we're modern football is changing so much, and it's now at the stage where you can't just spend your way out of trouble. You have to spend well.
You have a highly ambitious ownership, though. Highly ambitious, which is something we would want.
This is the thing as well, though, right? I mean, I didn't really know what to think of our ownership, and I've always put the lack of success that we've had to our ownership because people blame it on the recruitment. I say, hang on a second. You're complaining that we're not paying Osman these wages and we're signing all these young players. They're being told who they are able to sign, right? And then they're going out and working within the parameters of what they can do. With United, it seems like you've got this big checkbook that you can spend because obviously you generate so much cash. But at the same time, there's like a massive political element with the Glazers and how much money that they're taking out of the club. I honestly, I do think that you guys are just so far in the mud. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it
makes me sad, Alex. It really does make me sad because it was so far off. But the thing is, and this is what I keep saying to the fans, right? Don't get me wrong. I want every manager that comes into Manchester United, I want it to work because I can't be bothered starting over and over and over again. I really can't. But what I keep saying to people is, okay, yeah. This squad maybe isn't good enough to compete for Champions League, right? But they are better than 15th in the league. We have got international players. We've made good signings. Like Amorim has got to get a better result out of this group of players. Like that is it. If you look at the record, since Amorim came in, his first game in charge at Manchester United to now, through consistent Premier League teams, so not teams that have been relegated or promoted, we are bottom of the table. We are 17th, bottom of the table of consistent Premier League teams since Amorim came in. You're telling me that he's not got a squad that is good enough to do better than that. We should at least be cracking top half of the table, at least. So, yeah, okay, we might not have a deep squad full of world beaters that can compete with Cities, Liverpools, Arsenals, or maybe even Chelsea, considering, the squad that you've got. But we've got a team that can be in the top half of the table, and that is where I think people need to open their eyes up to the issues that are going on.
When I look at Pochettino's season, Palmer basically dragged us through that year. We had Caicedo, who was very, very good, at least improved as the season went on, and those were sort of our two biggest assets. I would actually argue that Gusto was one of our best players that year as well.
Yeah, he was very good.
Yeah, so let's just put those three players on the table. Caicedo, what's his name? Cucurella obviously improved. Jackson was okay. But if I'm looking at the three best players, in my opinion, those are our three best. And what that tells me is if you've got one player playing to the top level, another player who is a top player who just needs a little bit of time to bed in, and a younger player who sort of goes above and beyond what you expect, that was enough to get us to sixth. So in terms of what United can do now, you're thinking, well, who can drag you guys through this period? Because Palmer gave us 35, 40 GA, and that got us to sixth. All right, so I don't see that with any of your players. And then you look for a team collective. I don't know, Beth. I mean,
I think we have now. I think we've got Cunha, we've got Mbumo. They're both very good players. You still have Bruno Fernandes, who always puts up good numbers. Like, you have got players there. Amorim has to get more out of them. Like, you've got to look to the manager when you've got players like that. You've got Bruno, who has been one of the best outputs in the league over the past how many years. You've got Cunha, who was arguably up there for Team of the Year last year. You've got Mbumo, who just put out crazy numbers and has been doing really well in the Premier League for a number of years. Like, you've got to get more out of it. I know these only had them two for a short time, and it's the start of the season. Cunha suffered an injury, might be back for Chelsea. We're not sure, but you've got to get more. You've got to.
No, I mean, you definitely have better players in that sense. I mean, the only signing I have to say I just thought was not great was Sesko, and I saw him against City. He just looks useless, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't get.
Strikers get nothing though. Our strikers get nothing. We don't ever put the ball into him. I feel for him a little bit. I agree with you in the sense of he's far off it now and he needs time, but he's thrown in to a derby as his first start, and he gets nothing. And he's a young player coming in from the Bundesliga. And you know what, as well, United put so much pressure on these players to come through. Like, we did it with Højlund, and Højlund,
he scored for Napoli the other day.
And Conte's talking so highly of him. Conte's a great manager. He's talking so highly of him, saying, we've got McTominay, now we've got Højlund. He's loving it. He's like, keep bringing me them. But you look at how Liverpool went and got Ekitike. They've got a great team to bring him into and nurture him into. They've got Salah, they've got Gakpo, and then they go and get Isak as well to take the pressure off him even further. They've got two brilliant centre-forwards competing for a spot. We get rid of Højlund, who we literally put so much pressure on to be the main guy, and then we bring in another young player and put loads of pressure on him and only have him. I'm like, whoever is behind the scenes at United, surely you would have learnt your lesson and thought, you know what, we need an experienced striker like, say, an Ollie Watkins. Not an Isak or a Haaland, but he knows the Prem. He's going to be decent. Yeah. He's got that experience. He can run the channels. He can make the runs. He can do the hold-up play. And then you've got Sesko, who's a good young talent that we can bring through and nurture into the team. But no, straight away, United aren't scoring goals. You throw in this young guy and you're like, everyone's then saying, oh, well, United can't score goals. Sesko's rubbish. And okay, yeah, he didn't cover himself in glory in the derby, but it's one Premier League start and he's already getting rinsed. You don't get that at any other club.
Yeah, I mean, what's your prediction going into this one? Because I'm leaning towards a draw, but the fact that you haven't sacked Amorim yet makes me think we can actually win.
Well, Chelsea United's often a draw, isn't it? I remember so many draws between us over the years, no matter how good each team is, to be fair. If you want my honest opinion, I think you might beat us like 2-1. If you want my optimistic opinion, I'll go with 2-2. I just want to see goals, to be honest with you. Even if you score a couple, obviously ideally not, I genuinely just want to see goals. We've scored one goal from open play since the start of the Prem began.
Who scored that goal?
Mbeumo against Burnley. The others have been penalties or own goals.
Jesus.
I know.
It's been that bad? Well,
yeah.
It has, yeah. I can't believe that. I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident going into this one. If you're looking at Chelsea at the moment, I mean, what are you thinking about our team? Because we definitely ended last season really, really well, but I don't think anyone would have looked at us the same way if we hadn't have won the Club World Cup. I think that sort of propelled us onto a level where people actually go, oh, Chelsea are a serious club again, because, well, you and I both know if just winning the Conference League, that's not really going to raise any eyebrows.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you can banter the Conference League, but at least it's something.
It is.
At least you've got some midweek football to watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't even banter that anymore. But with Chelsea, I've watched all of your games. Yeah, I've watched all of your games since you kicked off in the Premier League. The only one where I didn't see like many positive signs was the Brentford game, but I think that was because of how Maresca set up. I think he went into that game and underestimated Brentford a little bit. I understand, having to rest players, rotate them. You've got Champions League football, some players coming back from injury, fitness. I get that. But I do think if I'm Maresca going into that game against Brentford, I'm fielding a stronger team than that. And if you've got players that are strong enough to be on the bench, then what I would have done with the, your top players, I would have started them and then taken them off once, you've got a footing in the game. So I think he maybe waited a little bit too long to introduce some of your better players to the pitch. And I was absolutely buzzing that Garnacho didn't follow his man in for that, for the equaliser. I was like, he was there, like, trying to claim he was trying to claim the assist to Caicedo. I'm like, come on. And the next thing you know, he's not following his run. I was like, yeah. No, but I think Chelsea, they look good. I think Maresca's a good coach. The thing is with Chelsea for me is they look like a strong team, but I still think Liverpool, Arsenal, City are just that level above them. But you're looking better, you're looking strong, you've got some strong players. I think João Pedro was a brilliant signing.
Right, yeah.
Such a good player. Obviously, we know Cole Palmer. I get he's had a little bit of a drought in terms of his goals, but he's always been a good player and they will come just because he is a good player. United at heart. Boyhood United fan, and I think that partnership of Enzo and Caicedo has just got stronger and stronger and stronger. Do you remember when people were like bantering, how much your midfield cost and how it wasn't working? And that just shows sometimes you got to give it time because, it should be playing it the way it is for the amount of money you spent on it, but them two together look really, really strong. And I know Caicedo gets a lot of flowers and he's been top, but Enzo, I think, is really important to you guys as well. So, Yeah, strong team. I think when Reece James is fit, that's another massive one for you. So it's about keeping all your best players fit. But I think you're looking good. I am worried about you coming to Old Trafford, which I've not always been in the past, but I really am this time.
We don't have a great record there, so if you should feel confident, but there's just this toxic aura around the club at the moment, and like we'll feel it when we go in there. We'll feel it, and we'll thrive off of that, especially if we get the first goal. I mean, whoever gets the first goal, it's their game, really. I mean, I don't know what you think about our defense as well, because that's sort of been one of our big question marks. It's Chalobah and Tosin. Maresca said publicly that he wanted a centre back, and then he sort of backtracked, which makes you think maybe someone's had a word with him and said you can't say that. I personally really like both of them, and keeping Tosin Colwell in the equation when he comes back, I go, we don't need one. But I have to admit, like at Bayern, every single goal we conceded was a mistake of our own. You obviously saw the Brentford game, and it does make me think, maybe there's some cracks that are starting to show, and that's an area that we could be vulnerable.
I do think defensively, Chelsea actually, you started the season off pretty well. That Brentford game, it wasn't your strongest line, was it? And that kind of showed for me. But I think when you've got a fully fit back line, you've got a good defence. I think Sanchez is still questionable. I'm not going to lie.
He had a great game against Bayern. Did you not see that?
Yeah. That's the thing. He's capable of having some really top games.
We would have lost like 6-1 if it wasn't for Sanchez.
But I think overall, there is still some question marks over him, just based off some performance, I've seen in the Premier League. But I was switching between the Chelsea game, the Chelsea Bayern game, and the Liverpool Atletico game. Yeah. And what I did see from that game is you guys were a bit unlucky to come away with a 3-1.
Yeah, I mean,
there was some good chances that you had, and I thought you played relatively well for the bits I was tuning in for.
I think Palmer is starting to get that spark back as well. Like you're absolutely right. He's had a bit of a dry spell. Got his first open play goal in God knows how long against Brentford. 2 against Bayern. I don't even know why they disallowed the second one. I thought that was so harsh. But he was everywhere. If he gets given the space, then I can definitely see him getting on the score sheet. He likes a goal against United as well.
He will score against us because we will give him space. Do you remember that one he scored where we literally just let him walk it basically into our goal? We just stood off him. He will probably score against us. If anyone scores, it will be him because he's got the ability to just weave through our defence. Like I know how, when you look at Chelsea's team, you look at the midfield, super, super strong. You look at the attack, strong. But for the amount of money you spent, I think it could be stronger. I still think there's some unprovenness about some of your forward players. For example, I don't know if we've got time to talk about Garnacho. I think he's a good player, but I still think he's got a lot to prove. Neto's a good player, but obviously been hindered a little bit by injuries and can be inconsistent. I think João Pedro started really well. Delap, obviously the injury is a bit frustrating, but no one in there is like proper proven. So I think in terms of young players, you've got a great foundation to build off. And then Cole Palmer is obviously Cole Palmer. Midfield, super strong. Defensively, I don't think Chalobah and Tosin is a centre-back partnership that can challenge at the top of the Premier League. I get Colwell's out. I rate him. Fofana, what is going to happen with him, with the amount of injuries he's had? And I know that he's fit now, isn't he? He played in that game against.
But
he's not fully.
I'm not personally his biggest fan, to be honest with you. I mean, he played as a right back against Brentford. He was responsible for the first goal.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, and that's why I'm talking about playing your strongest players. Reece James and Cucurella, when they are super, on it, and they usually are nowadays, aren't they? When they're fit and ready to go, they are top fullbacks. As much as Cucurella can be frustrating, they are top fullbacks. So you've got some really, good players in important positions, but I would say that little centre-back partnership and sometimes a goalkeeper, I know he had a good game against Bayern, can be a little bit of a fly in the ointment for you. But I still think you've got more than enough to compete up there.
Hey, well, listen, thanks so much for coming on, Beth. Really appreciate your time. And listen, so you're going with a 2-2 if you're optimistic, otherwise a 2-1 Chelsea. I probably agree with that, to be fair. I would probably agree with that. There's a part of me that doesn't want to be too cocky going into this just because, again, it's like Brentford, isn't it? Like, everyone was so confident we were going to do it. And I was like, look at the history of the fixture. Sometimes that's all you need. And it doesn't really make sense, but there's a reason that you have that history.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
With Alejandro Garnacho, what are your initial thoughts? Because for me, I thought in a Ten Hag, 4-3-3, as a touchline left winger, he's got so much potential, a lot of talent. His cutbacks can be lethal. When he's on it, he's got an eye for a shot that he can bury it into any part of the goal. However, there's things that need to be weeded out of his game which can cost you and are super frustrating. Not always tracking back, which we've seen. The side of the off the pitch stuff that is frustrating. You need to manage to get hold of him and work with him in a way that's going to get the best out of him. And then also as well, so many times greediness of taking the wrong decision and trying to get all the glory. And then, you counter-attacked on and you're in a bit of a pickle. But he's got, as a left winger or even a right winger touchline, it's a touchline winger, but mainly on the left. I think he's got so much potential.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the things that people didn't understand about the Garnacho signing. Same with Jamie Gittins as well. But they are both the same profile in that respect. Like if you're one-on-one with someone and you want to drive through, get a ball in, or even cut inside, well, I could trust both of them to get past the player. The only difference is that we've seen Gittins do it in Germany and we haven't seen him do it here. I mean, Gittins been pretty underwhelming since he's come up. That's the one player I was like, we overspent. We really got our pants pulled down on that.
That's why I was like, why are you not coughing up your 40 mil for a Premier League proven over here, but you go and spending 50 odd mil on Gittins? Was it 55 in the end?
52.
Oh, so near enough.
Yeah, it was.
Gittins look good in the Bundesliga, but sometimes it doesn't always translate, does it?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was always an advocate because we spoke about this in January in the last window. And basically everyone was like, don't touch him. Don't touch Garnacho. And my thing was get him for like 20 million. And then like, that's exactly what you want. And that's kind of how we approached the transfer, which I think was exactly the right way. And in the end, it was like a fair deal. It wasn't a bad deal for anyone. You got your 10% sell on clause, which means you'll get an extra 10 million if we sell him for 100, which will never happen. So I'll be honest with you, like, I think it was a fair deal on all sides. You wanted to get rid of him. We were happy to take him, but it had to be in a way that Chelsea could sell him and then make money if we wanted to, which is basically our model, right? So I personally don't think we will sell Garnacho. I think that he'll probably stay for quite some time. But if we were to sell him, we'd get our money back. And that was always going to be the priority in this transfer. But I'm actually a big fan of him.
The way you guys do business, I am jealous of, in the sense of I do think most of the time you play a reasonably decent fee and you sell super well. We can't sell for the life of us. So anyway, we'll see who wins on the pitch.
We'll see.
It's
what
more
happens
embarrassing for you guys if you don't.
Are you going to the game?
I am. You'll be coming up, won't you? You'll come and see us.
I will. I'll try and pop down the studio. You need to send me the address, but
I will. I'll get it to you.
That all sorted.
I won't say it on here.
Go and check out Beth. I'll put your socials in the description or whatever. Check out the United stand as well, guys, and we'll see what happens.